1,000 items, it takes it a while to calculate what it thinks I should order next. So stand by here. And we're in. Alright, so let's see. So first of all, you guys know that Club O, and obviously it wanted me to buy like a sandal or something, I don't know why, but oh well. So you guys know that with Club O, you can get anywhere from 5 to 40% back on any items that you buy, right? So it's usually 5%, but when you come to your page here, you'll see in this account I've actually earned $64,000 in Club O rewards, just kind of a bonus 5%, right? And 5% site-wide, so just look there. Here it shows items that are 10 to 20% in the reward store. And then there's actually some exclusive items that give up to 40% rewards. So you can look through some of these, and a lot of times these aren't very hot sellers, but sometimes they are. Now keep in mind that these extra reward items, you can usually only buy 5 of while they're on extra reward. So don't be listing a quantity of 1,000 and overselling what you can buy, alright? You can usually only buy 5. Now when you're on Overstock, you have a bunch of different options on how you can look around. Obviously, you can just pick a category and start looking. Now, under For the Home here, pretty much everything is good. We tend to avoid sinks and faucets and tubs, alright? We can go into why, but a lot of times people's faucet don't fit in their sink, and their sink don't fit in their counter. It just becomes a big mess, and well, tubs, I don't know. A lot of times you'll get manufacturers telling you to get off their listings for tubs, so let them keep their tubs. There's plenty of other stuff, but most things under here is fine. Most things are fine. The furniture section is pretty good. All of it should work, but the only thing you guys need to be aware of is you have to avoid items that are, and I think there's a list of items in the back office that Amazon, that the manufacturers will yell at you for being on Amazon, alright? I think it's back there, but the big one is Baxton Studio, okay? So don't list anything that's Baxton Studio, and that's pretty much all furniture stuff, so just watch out for it when you're looking at furniture. Bed and bath, you're going to want to avoid completely. Why? We'll go through these one by one. Memory foam is not returnable to Overstock, alright? Amazon will require you to handle the returns for up to 30 days, or accept the returns for up to 30 days. And you don't really want a garage full of memory foam that you can't return to Overstock. So, no go for that. Anything else, any of these other things, comforter sets, duvet covers, quilts, towels and sheets are just pretty cheap for the amount of hassle they give you. They're like $18. And anything where the color matters a lot, where people are going to say, hey, the sheet doesn't match my bedroom wall or something, or the sheet doesn't look exactly this shade of blue, you're going to get a high return rate on those. Very high return rate on those, because people are way too picky, and they'll say the color isn't perfect, or the quality isn't right, or it's too thin, or, whatever. So I tend to avoid this just because it's cheap and a big hassle. Same thing with comforters and anything under here. I tend to avoid those. I sold them for a while, but the return rate was upwards of like 15%, and it's still profitable. It's just that you're handling 10 returns a day when you don't need to. So, and they're pretty cheap too, so you're looking at like $4 or $5 profits, and it's really not worth it. You could technically look at down bedding if you want. I really haven't done anything in it. I guess mattresses might be okay, but mattress pads and toppers, a lot of those are memory foam again, so just be careful. Women is like dresses and shoes and handbags and stuff, so you're going to avoid that. Same with men, pretty much the same stuff minus the handbags. Jewelry you're obviously going to avoid. Watches you're going to avoid. Health and beauty, if you're accepted in it for FDA or something, you can look around in it. I tend to avoid that too. Electronics, obviously, no. But World Stock here, it's just a different kind of category. It's a good category, it's just different. So, if I pick something here, I don't know, patio furniture, you'll see what this is. This is basically Overstock saying, hey, we want to be a good company, and to show that we're a good company, we're going to hire someone in Mexico to make us a hammock, and we're going to hire someone in China to make us a tea table, and someone in Vietnam is going to make us a folding chair made out of bamboo, and someone else in Vietnam will make us an umbrella made out of, I don't know, but just a bunch of kind of cool items, but they're different, right? There's pretty much every kind of category in here: kitchen and dining, bedding, garden, home decor, everything we were looking at before. But these aren't items that you're going to see usually already selling lights out on Amazon, because they're unique to Overstock. Overstock is having these guys make them. They're not mass produced. I mean, the quantity of the stock available is fine, more often than not. And by the way, guys, to check stock, this one's actually a very high sellout risk. To check stock, you just pull down the quantity box, all right? And in this case, there's only one left. They won't let you add 2 to your cart if there's only one to buy. So there's only one here. When you're not logged into Overstock, then the most it will show is 20. So 20 means they have more than 20 more often than not. When you are logged into Overstock, if you have Club O, it's supposedly some perk of having Club O, the drop-down list will show up to 50. So 50 usually means they have more than 50, all right? Likewise, if you're not logged in, 20 usually means they have 50, which means they have more than 50, if that makes sense. But in this case, this isn't an item you're going to really see selling on Amazon, but it doesn't mean it's not selling on Overstock, right? So this would be an item that, more likely than not, you could list, but you're going to have to list it using your own UPC code, all right? With a new UPC code. You won't find a UPC code for these on Overstock on eBay either, all right? So it's a good category to look through. It's something most people don't do, but if you're going to make your own listings, it's a good category to look at, because a lot of people always say, hey, I can't find anything on Overstock that's not on Amazon. Well, almost all of this isn't on Amazon, so go to town, all right? Under more over here, you have sports and outdoors is fine, baby is fine, pet supplies is fine, emergency preparedness is okay, toys and hobbies is fine, office is fine, crafts and sewing is fine. Alright, so lots of categories you guys can work with. Now, keep in mind that not all categories are created equal. Alright, so if you look in a category like home and kitchen, that encompasses so many different items and so many different kinds of items, right? I mean, every microwave is in home and kitchen, and every chair is in home and kitchen, and everything's in home and kitchen. So there's billions of home and kitchen items. So if you find an item that's ranked 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 in home and kitchen, that item will sell. I mean, not all the time, but it will sell. Now, take that, compare that to something like baby. Well, there's only so many strollers and high chairs and cribs out there. So if you find something that's ranked 500,000 in baby, well, it's probably the worst crib in existence, alright? It doesn't mean that it never sells. It just means that it sells a lot less than something that's 500,000 in home kitchen. So just keep that in mind, that not all ranks are created equal. Let's see here. What else should we talk about? Let's go on Amazon for a minute, and let's just pick an item real quick. I'm just going to randomly pick furniture and, I don't know, maybe not sectional sofas, those are too big. You guys always want to make sure that the item doesn't ship freight from Overstock, alright? Just because buyers don't really look at the handling time on Amazon. When you're looking at an Amazon item, say that I just search chairs, and I pick a chair, let's see if we can find something that's, let's actually find an item real quick. Furniture again, and I don't know, let's pick chairs. There we go. And if I pick a chair here, this one, just because it looks funny, I guess. And if I search for the chair, and here it is. Let's take a look. It's $233.97 on Overstock, and it's $259.58 on Amazon. So that is a profitable price. It's $770,000 in home and kitchen, so it's not selling every day. It's probably not even selling every month. But it is a profitable item. But anyway, you'll see that this handling time in this case really doesn't even show up, right? Sometimes it does, but this guy's named Quality Plus Deals. His usually ships in 3 to 4 business days, right? Usually ships in 2 to 3. This KTW supply company, usually ships in 3 to 4, etc. So that doesn't show that anywhere here. Sometimes it'll say something like usually ships in 3 to 4 business days or whatever. The problem is that that's the only time people see that. Okay, it's the only time they see the handling time, and when they go to check out and buy it, it's going to have them pick the 3 to 5 business day standard shipping. It's not even going to mention the handling time. By then, a lot of times they forgot about it. So when we're using a 4-day handling time, so for overstock items, let's see here, that was too big. For overstock items, you always want to use a 4-day handling time. Okay? Why? Well, if you pick a 1-day handling time, it gives you 1 to 2 business days. It's not enough. If you pick a 2-day handling time, it also gives you 2 to 3 business days. If you pick a 3-day handling time, it gives you 3 to 4. If you pick a 4-day handling time, it gives you 4 to 5. It gives you 4 to 5. All right. So basically, 3 is the same as 4 as far as Amazon is concerned. You might as well buy your extra day. Once you go above 4, if you go to 5 or 6, it hurts your buy box percentage tremendously. All right. So you want to stay at 4. So you want to make sure that you're not listing items that are listed on Overstock as usually leaves the warehouse in 1 to 10 business days. Okay, you want to look for that because that's on random items. That's not always just on a big giant item. That's on some items that Amazon supposedly, or that Overstock supposedly makes custom, and they'll be the silliest items. And you want to make sure you recognize that before you sell a bunch of them, and then have to tell the buyer that it's going to be delayed. Some things like pillows ship that way. They custom make the pillow, and it's not really custom. It's just they make it when it gets ordered, which is weird. But make sure you avoid that, and then obviously freight shipping. Okay, freight shipping, it takes 4 to 6 weeks, and no buyer is going to really want to wait that long. So we avoid those 2 things, and that's why we would avoid that big sofa that we were looking at originally. All right. Now, where do we want to price ourselves on this item? So we've talked before, we never want to be the cheapest. All right. We don't want to start a pricing war. Why? Because there is software out there that controls people's prices, and it's extremely limited. It uses Amazon's API, and the only options that it provides, the only thing that Amazon's API provides is the Amazon price, if it exists. All right, so if Amazon's selling the item, what are they selling for? The cheapest price, and the buy box price. Okay, so it only gives you a few options. You can either compete against the cheapest price, you can try to match it or be cheaper than it, or you can compete against the buy box price. So the problem is if you have someone who has software and they mark, hey, I want to be the lowest price, or I want to match the lowest price, and you come in and you undercut these guys to the bottom, this guy's going to say, hey, I'm not cheapest anymore. He's going to undercut you probably 10 or 15 minutes later. And, well, then you could get mad and go undercut him, and he could undercut you again. You guys could battle the price all the way down to nothing pretty quickly. All right? We don't want to do that. It sounds cool to be the cheapest. It sounds like, hey, I'm going to get the buy box a lot more, and I'm going to get more sales. But, again, you're going to drive the price down to nothing within a matter of days, all right? So we don't want to be the cheapest. We also don't want to be the second cheapest. Why? Because the second cheapest guy might have software too, and his just hasn't updated to beat this guy yet, right? So right now, these 2 are happy where they're at, and you can see a pretty big price difference here. Well, actually, these are the same price difference. These are the same price. So you can see these 2 people are happy at the same price. They're not undercutting each other, right? So you don't want to come in here and disrupt the water and undercut people. Now, that being said, we don't want to be too expensive either. We don't want to be down here on at the bottom, or on page 7 of all the listings. Nobody's ever going to see it. So you do have to be within a reasonable price of the low price to get the buy box, but you don't have to be the lowest. So where do we want to be? We want to be somewhere between 3rd and 5th cheapest. Preferably we want to be 3rd or 4th cheapest. Why is that? Well, take a look. There's 4 sellers on this page, right? On the main page, there's 4 sellers. There's one guy who has the buy box, right? It's quality plus deals dude at the moment. There's 3 other sellers down here. And if the seller is in this box, then they are buy box eligible. They just don't have the buy box at the moment. And you'll see that if you price yourself too high, you'll actually go away out of here, alright? You can actually use that to figure out what price are you still buy box eligible. And if I was to list this item, I would be buy box eligible in it. But if I list it for $5,000, well, I'm not buy box eligible at $5,000, so I wouldn't show up here. Someone else would, alright? So we always want to make sure that when we don't have the buy box, we're on this first page anyway. People will come down here and just, I don't know, KTW Supply sounds like a better name than Quality Plus Deals, and they buy from that guy. It happens, alright? And so you always want to make sure you're on the first page, but you don't want to start a pricing war. And that's why we're saying be 3rd or 4th cheapest, okay? Now, the buy box will rotate quite a bit, actually. I mean, multiple times a day. And, of course, the cheaper guy is going to get it a little bit more, but the percentage isn't that drastically different, alright? And it has a lot to do with your metrics, keeping your ODR, your order defect rate that we talked about low, your cancellation rate low, your feedback percentage high. More orders in the category helps. More orders overall helps, alright? So, it's not just based on price, guys. We want to make sure that an item that's profitable now is still profitable in the future. And what we don't want to happen is we should never have a situation in Monopoly where if one of you guys, I hope not, but if one of you guys are Quality Plus Deals or Herbie Sales or KTW Supply, right? If I was to jump on this listing, I shouldn't see a post in the Facebook group saying, oh my god, somebody came on my wing recliner and now I'm not going to make any money tomorrow and I'm not going to eat. It shouldn't be that way, alright? I've had the same items listed, pretty much the same items, for over a year now. I'm not the cheapest on any of them, and they still sell, right? People have come and added themselves to the listing, but who cares, alright? As long as you're following that strategy, being 3rd or 4th, you're going to make a lot more money over time, rather than if you just be the cheapest and drive the price down, and then you see posts of, hey, I had to take my microwave down because it was making $60 profits for 2 months, and now it makes a 50-cent profit plus rewards, right? We don't want to do that. So 3rd or 4th cheapest, and we'll be good to go. What else can we talk about? Let's see here. I don't know. It's probably a pretty good bunch of stuff for you guys to think about for the moment. Now, if you're, let's take a look here, 1 second. So obviously, you guys do want to make sure that you track your price changes, all right, and your stock, of course. And you'll have to come up with a way to do that. Some people use Odesk. Some people have different programs to do it, and some people are waiting on Hitesh to hurry up and finish the Amazon automation, right, Hitesh? But one thing to keep in mind is that price changes on Overstock only happen once a day, okay, primarily. I mean, every once in a while, this doesn't hold true, but this is almost always true, and they happen at 1:59 a.m. Eastern Time. So I'm always still up, doesn't bother me, but they happen pretty late at night. Now, the biggest price changes happen on Thursdays. Thursday night, or really Friday morning at 1:59 a.m. Okay? And this is where things that were on sale for the week go off sale, and new things go on sale, and prices just go crazy, alright? And again, this is at 1:59 a.m. So you guys want to make sure that you track that as well. Other than that, I think you should be good to go. And again, you don't need hundreds of listings. Actually, one more thing, just to keep throwing Sean off. He's probably ready to say, alright guys, have a good night. But we'll talk about one more thing. One thing we kind of discovered Hitesh kind of discovered it. I'll give him a little bit of credit. So he survived monkeys, and he discovered what we call pruning. And pruning is basically this. You don't want, how should we say this? Your bad listings can drag down your good listings. And what I mean by that is your buy box percentage can actually be affected if you have a bunch of what we're going to call bad listings. Alright? Now, what this does is, the idea behind it at least, is that Amazon only gets so much traffic, right? They get a lot of traffic, but they get a finite amount of traffic. And they want to maximize the amount of money they make on that traffic. So if they send you a bunch of clicks, when you have the buy box, and you're only averaging, say, a sale every 30 clicks, but I'm averaging a sale every 10 clicks, well, it's better to give me the buy box. It's better to, drive people to my listings than to yours, because, more people are going to buy off that number of clicks. So we don't want our bad listings to drag down our good listings. So we want to make sure that the items we list have a decent rank. Okay? So what do I mean by decent rank? Well, again, it's kind of category specific. If your item's selling, then that's good. If your item hasn't sold in a long time, you might want to consider getting rid of it. Okay? And it doesn't necessarily mean you had to sell it. It just means is it selling? All right. Now, the other thing we want to do is focus, and Hitesh determined that this rotation cap, as he called it, how often are you going to get the buy box, doesn't matter as much within specific categories. So you want to focus on 2 to 3 categories of items and stay within them. Okay? So if you're going to list, I don't know, if you're going to list bookshelves, right? If you decide tonight, I'm going to list bookshelves and I'm going to list cookware, right? And those are your 2 categories. Stick within those categories. I mean, take a look, guys. There's 142 bookshelves right now on Overstock. And if I click cookware, there's 1,142, sorry. If I click cookware, there's 1,648, and these are just the recommended ones. I mean, if you go within the category, there's, probably, there's 250 cookware sets, and there's 340 skillets, right? There's so many items, and you don't need that many listings. So stick within 2 categories, and you're going to see that helps. The last thing is to review your listings and prune your bad items. So basically take them down weekly and replace them with new items in your category. Okay? So we always want to make sure that we have fresh inventory that is moving and selling, and that keeps Amazon happy. Alright, so on that note, guys, I'm going to shut up for a few minutes, and if we want to do a quick Q&A, we've been on here for about an hour, so do about a 10-minute Q&A, and then you guys can go on with your night, alright?
Perfect, awesome. Thanks a lot, Matt, for sharing some of this stuff. I really like the fact that you covered how to deal with some of these situations with the, cancellations, returns, things like that, because we go into it in a little bit in the training, but not as detailed, and people were going crazy with scripts. So
right, I do actually have some videos, guys, going over basically the same thing. But the problem is editing out some of my information takes a decade and a half. And so those are coming. Those will be back there. Obviously, we'll get the skips back there pretty quickly, and you guys should be good to go.
Perfect. So why don't we do? We're already in an hour and 10. So why don't we do like 10 minutes of questions? Maybe answer like 6 or 7 questions, something like that. And I'm just gonna start at the bottom.
Sounds good.
From there. So you guys think the question in. What if you were competing with Amazon for the buy box? Do you compete?
That's actually a good point. That's something I meant to bring up and I forgot. So thanks for the question. Okay, so a couple things. It's hard and actually nearly impossible to take the buy box, box from Amazon. Alright, so if Amazon's on the listing right now, whether you list more expensive than Amazon or cheaper than Amazon, you're still not going to get the buy box. Amazon likes to brag that they own Amazon and they can keep the buy box no matter what, right? That being said, let me just search chair again. That being said, a couple things can happen, alright? Number one is that if you're a little bit more expensive than Amazon, there will be people, so you'll be down here somewhere, right? Again, third or fourth cheapest. There will be people that will buy from you anyway. Why would they do that? Well, remember that Amazon charges sales tax in, I don't even know, I think we're up to 27 states now. Amazon sales tax. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So we're up to 25 states right now. Over half the states that we ship to, Amazon charges tax in, and I think I picked 27 because I think Michigan and one other state gets added in October. So, boo Michigan. I live in Michigan, so boo Michigan real quick. But Michigan's good other than that. But anyways, guys, there will be buyers who will say, hey, well, if I'm gonna have to pay, Amazon 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% sales tax, or I can buy it from this guy for maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% more than Amazon. I'm going to buy from this guy and save a little bit. So people will buy it from you basically as a sales tax dodge. Alright? The other thing that will happen is you're not going to sell this item very often, usually. But there will be times on lots of items that Amazon will actually go out of stock on the item, when Overstock or Walmart or Wayfair don't. And at that point, Amazon will go away, and then these guys will start rotating the buy box on an item that's ranked, 226 in home and kitchen. So, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months might go by where you're not selling this item, and then randomly one day you'll get 60 or 70 sales on the item just because Amazon went out of stock on it. Now, you guys want to be a little bit careful when that happens, all right? When an item starts selling like that, you want to be even more careful with the amount you say you have available than normal, all right? Why? Well, because if Amazon went out of stock, then the other places might eventually too. So you don't want 80 orders sitting that you have to place, and then Overstock goes out of stock, and that's the end of your account, all right? So keep that in mind, but usually if in that situation, you might add, say you have a quantity of 2, let the 2 sell, and they'll sell pretty quick. Place orders, say you have 2 more, and go like that, alright? So, that's my answer. Yes, it's fine to list under Amazon. It's just, again, a little bit different of an approach, alright?
Awesome. Somebody else is asking about the bad listings in your inventory. Do you just leave them at 0, or do you remove them completely?
You would want to remove them completely. Now, you can keep a spreadsheet of the ASIN number and the overstock item number. And then there is there are the templates you guys can use to upload inventory in your Amazon back office, right? So you guys can keep those spreadsheets active and then have all the information if you ever want to go back and list it. But for the pruning process, you want to delete the listing entirely, not just zero it out. Because when you zero it out, then Amazon gives you a low inventory alert, right? And they email you every 10 minutes and they say, hey, you should restock on this. That hurts you as well. So.
Yeah. Do you have a way to track the returns and all the cash back?
Do I have a way to track the returns and the cash back? Alright, so the way I track returns is just again on a spreadsheet, and I do everything on spreadsheets. And basically, what you want to record is the overstock item number, the overstock item number, the overstock order number is good, the Amazon order number, and the tracking number, right? The tracking number off the label. So when you get a return label, whenever I did it there, it shows the tracking number right here on it. And you can just, basically what I do is I just Google that tracking number. So if I just Google it, it's 1ZAWO 173909572 5172. If you just Google the tracking number, Google knows that's a UPS package. And then I just like to take this link and keep it in my spreadsheet. Then I can just go through and click the links and see which ones are delivered back and be good to go. Remember that Overstock will send you an email once they process your return to it. It's called a return confirmation. It's the subject line. It's like overstock.com return confirmation. And then you'll know the refund came through and then you have to process it. So as far as cash back, again, it's just another field in my spreadsheet that's basically your cash back is 5% of your, normally 5% of whatever you spend on overstock, right? So you just equation it to be based on what you spend, your credit card rewards, so, whatever those are. And yeah, just make sure you guys are recording all that for tax time, but not too big of a deal.
Awesome. Do you, somebody's asking, are most of your listings piggyback or you use your own UPCs?
Most of the listings are piggybacked. And if you make your own, they'll become piggybacked eventually anyway. But that doesn't mean not to make your own, guys. That's fine, and you will be able to control it for a while on your own. It's just personal preference. You'll see a lot of items that aren't on Amazon at all and look like good items, and you obviously want to list those with your own UPC. A lot of it for me now is, I'm always busy placing orders, so I don't really list anything ever anymore, be it against an existing ASIN or a new listing. I mean, I think since last July, I've put up like under 10 listings. So, the majority of them are piggyback. There's a few that are my own, but it's just personal preference there.
Right. Do you, what quantity do you use for stock? Your in-stock?
Alright, so if Maris is out there listening, whenever I mention software, I get a message. When do I get the software? But, I have it software controlled, which is what you guys are going to have soon, too, with over here, with, what Attach is working on. I like to base it off this. I'm pretty conservative with it. So, I say that if Overstock has 0 to 4 units in stock, that I have 0. Alright? Why do I do that? Remember that we can only buy 5 of the extra reward items, right? So I just don't want my thing to pull it down if it only shows 5. So 0 to 4, I have 0. 5 to 9, I say I have 1. 10 to 14, I say I have 2. 15 to 19, I say I have 3. 20 plus, I say I have 20. Now, why do I do that? Because remember that 20 plus, 20 means 50, and 50 means more than 50. So, you can scale up pretty quickly there, but anytime you get to a 19, well, then they really only have 19 left, and you want to start being more careful. And part of it depends on, how much attention are you paying to it. If you're waiting a bunch of hours, between placing the orders, well, from when they're placed, well, maybe you want to be even more conservative than that. But there's nothing wrong with, it's better to have the item sell out than, sell a ton of them and it go out of stock, all right, guys? And if you're paying attention and you see you're getting sale on an item and it's still in stock, just go back and then raise your inventory. No big deal. And, yep.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. One more question here, if I can find it. Somebody's asking, how do you get more reviews?
How do you get more feedback? I'd be happy if I never got another feedback again. Guys, the feedback will come. When you're selling on eBay, roughly something like 1 out of 3 buyers leaves feedback, right? Feedback isn't as important on Amazon. People don't really even know it exists, which is good. So on Amazon, it's more like 1 out of 30 buyers leave feedback. 1 out of 30 buyers leave feedback. 1 out of 30. There you go. So you're not going to get that much feedback. You don't want to really pester the buyer for it, though. Why? Because Amazon does send out a pretty generic message a little bit after the item's delivered, asking for a feedback. Now, if you start messaging the buyer, there are some automated feedback things out there that'll message the buyer as a script that you give it, asking for feedback. But then if the buyer doesn't leave feedback then, this is the second time they've been messaged, well, then it will message them again a week later and say, hey, leave feedback. And you'll see some people with negative feedback say something to the effect of, this guy wanted a feedback so bad, here it is. I don't want that. Remember that for your ODR is your most important thing on Amazon, right? The ODR is your, let's see, let me pull it over here again. Your ODR is your sum of all these things over your total sales. So whether they leave feedback or not, it counts as a positive in your ODR as long as they don't leave a negative A to Z chargeback rate. So if they don't leave a feedback and they go off into the sunset, that's really a positive for you. That counts as a point here that helps keep your ODR low. So I don't even want to give them, if they're not thinking about feedback, I don't want to give them an option to potentially leave a negative feedback. The one thing that can hurt me, right? I take my point and I'll move on. Okay, so I would just let the feedback comes as it comes, and it'll build up over time. And there's my answer. So let's do one more question, and then we'll call it a night.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. No.
Sean, don't read them out loud. They're gonna be sad that you read it and picked it.
Sorry, I know it's just so many. One that I like really. Some people will be like, how do I log in my Amazon account or something? I don't want to talk about like the very basic question. Here's a good one. It gets asked a lot, but since you've done $1 million in sales, I think it's an appropriate answer from you. What Amazon rank range do you target?
Okay, definitely. Now, again, remember that what we said before is that not all ranks are equal. Okay? So, just as a general breakdown, and you guys don't have to live by this by any means, but if you're looking at something like home and kitchen, which we're gonna say is a big category, and it really encompasses everything. Anything I'd like to say at like 500,000 or lower. All right, 500,000 seems like a pretty big number. It's not going to sell all the time, but it will sell. Things that are ranked $1 million will sell. It just depends how much tracking ability you have and that kind of stuff, and how your pruning's going and everything like that. So I tend to stay at 500,000 or lower for home and kitchen. If I'm looking at something like baby or pets, which are a little smaller, even patio, something like patio. I think it's patio and garden or something on Amazon. I don't know. There, I'm looking at 150,000 or lower. And I'm actually probably looking for even lower than that in baby. In baby, I'm probably looking for. So let's back this out. In baby, I'm probably looking for something like 75,000 or lower. What other categories are there? I don't know. Let's see. Toys. Looking for, probably 100,000 or lower in toys. Same with sports. Toys and sports. And let's see, baby pets. Did we forget any? I think that's about it, right? I do something like that.
Yeah, guys. I think those are the big ones. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's good to start with. Anyways, what I would mention, like I mentioned before, is like you just never know what's going to sell anyways. So sometimes you can throw some dumb things up there that have like really low sales ranks, and you might get 1 or 2 sales a week. But I never had a patio set that ranked like, I don't know, 850,000 or something, but the profit was like $600, right?
Right. Yep.
And I sold it 3 times a month. Well, I mean, it was $1,800 a month. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So that is why you guys, you don't have to live by this. And if you see something that's ranked, bad but ranked, but it's a huge profit, yeah, go ahead and throw it up. Now, if it's not ranked at all, if it doesn't even say seller rank on the page, then I wouldn't bother listing it. Now there are some people that do list that stuff, and they do get occasional sales on it. But to me, it's dragging down the good listings a little too much. All right, so there's so many items out there that you should be able to find. You should be able to find things in pretty good ranks pretty easily. And again, remember 3rd or 4th on the pricing, and you'll get your sales.
Cool. Well, with that being said, guys, before we go, Matt, why don't you show these guys how they can reach out to you over Facebook and put a name to your face there, face to your name, however you want to say it.
Not a problem. So
and then you can get like 300 friend requests.
There's my name, so I'm gonna get 300 new friend requests. I'll warn you guys that my Facebook messages are already pretty long, so if I don't reply to you, I'm sorry. I'll probably never catch up, but I am up pretty late, so if you message me late, I'm more likely to see it when it jumps up to the top than if you message me early in the day when I'm at work. But there's my name. Feel free to friend me, and yep, we'll go from there. Now, obviously, like I said, I'll be adding some videos eventually here to the training. We'll get these scripts in the back office, and I think that's about it.
Awesome. So I just want to say thanks to Matt for coming up tonight and sharing his $1 million secret. It was very informative. We will go ahead and get his templates up in the back office as quickly as Kevin can put them up there. I'll have Matt reach out to Kevin afterwards, and we'll get those up there. And guys, don't forget too, if you are on Genesis or if you're not on Genesis, we do have a special webinar tonight with Nikki at 10 o'clock. So be sure to tune into that in about 30 more minutes. And with that being said, everybody, have a good night, and we'll see you once again in 2 weeks.
All right, guys. See you later.
Take care. Bye now.